there's multiple places you got to do what's right for you, do what works for you, and you got to definitely know your ICP, your ideal client profile.
Be more intentional, get clear on your ideal client, and just pick two. Who do you want to build a closer, longer-term relationship with so that it could be a win-win for both?
I got to start building some market awareness, but at the same time, I got to build that relationship so that I get some credibility, because that person can help edify my services and gives me validation that I'm a solid service that I'm providing for somebody.
The best lead generation is built through relationships that are based on sincerity and are intentionally nurtured. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Business Lunatics, the weekly show where four fearless loonies, we pull back the curtain on the wild, the wonderful, and sometimes downright ridiculous world of entrepreneurship. This is no fluff, no BS, just pure business madness. And today we're going to start talking about lead generation, and more importantly, on whether it works, whether it doesn't work, and what are some ways to go about this. This will be probably our first show on this topic. We will continue this topic in the upcoming weeks. With that in mind, Freddy, why don't you take it away?
Well, thanks, Melih. Lead generation is really kind of the heartblood of a business, because you've always got to find new opportunities to keep growing. And there's a multitude of ways you can work with actually looking for cold leads. When I was selling manufacturing software way back when, I used to buy a manufacturing directory, and I was selling into the tool and die. I used to look at SIC code 3544. That was the list of my cold leads. That was the president, the vice president of engineering, that vice president of manufacturing. I would have somebody put that into a system, and I would market to those people, make cold calls and direct mail and everything else. That's a completely cold lead. Now, the other aspect of a lead is a warm lead, where you get somebody that gives you a referral. And that's another mechanism of a lead. But now that's still somewhat of a cold lead, because it's still a name and a phone number, or a name and an email address. And you still have to go pursue them and say, okay, so-and-so suggested I contact you, and et cetera. So it's still in the form of a cold lead, because it's not, you still got to do work. The best type of lead that you can get is what I would call an introduction, because an introduction is a handoff where someone is actually creating an email and saying, okay, hey, Melih, I want to introduce you to Steve. He's the AI guy. And Steve, I want to introduce you to Melih. And I think the two of you guys could, help each other's businesses and stuff like that. That's a warm introduction. And those are the most successful leads that you can get.
Right.
And Freddie, you hit up on an important note when it comes to, I don't want to call it lead generation necessarily, but when it comes to running your business, you have to network. You have to do business development. You have to be able to go out there and develop your relationships and build on those relationships. And that should be one channel of your lead generation mechanism, or your system, your ecosystem of being able to generate leads, not only very warm leads, but often very successful lead generation that's going to turn into a customer and do so very quickly. But you have to be able to build on these relationships. And I think that's an important part of lead generation, that it's not just about cold leads or intent-based leads or account-based marketing, etc. It's got to be, in my opinion, business development is so important. And so often we see companies jumping from being, from company all the way over to sales. And in the middle, they're missing marketing as a foundation. They're missing business development in the process that both support the sales process, but instead they're trying to jump over all that and go directly to sales. And the sales team is just spinning their wheels
Right.
because there is no marketing foundation, there is no relationship building, there's nothing. I think this is where businesses need to focus their attention on, probably more so than anything else when it comes to what's on the market. I mean, what do you think, Steve?
It's also why you see these ebbs and flows in a business's sales and volume, because they're so busy out generating leads. They get the leads, they start doing the work, and they forget you got to keep filling the funnel. You got to keep those activities going in the background while you're doing the work or handing it off to your employees to do the work. I also think it's probably not killer important, but I'm sure there's a few people out there this might help. There's different types of lead classifications. There's a cold lead, someone you don't know, zero contact, they don't know you, never heard of you. That's considered a cold lead. A warm lead might be someone that maybe you don't know them directly, but you know them through a friend of yours, or you got an introduction like Freddie was talking about. Then there's what I call a COI, or a center of influence lead, which is the best because they'll, like, your best outside salesperson that are saying, "Oh, Steve's the best," or "Melih's the best," or "Rochelle's awesome at helping you understand how to run your business," whatever. But they're selling for you, so you got to nurture all of these, and you got to, I think,
Yeah,
have a
you have
good
to
breadth.
nurture.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
have to
And
nurture.
that's the key word there that I want to emphasize, because one of the areas that is overlooked is your existing customer base is really,
Oh,
if
huge.
you nurture that, that is a lead generation machine that unfortunately a lot of small businesses have the one and done mindset where they've done a great job, they've gone in, and then that customer never hears from that agency ever again until they need something else, and they don't remember who they went, so they look and find somebody else, and that's lost opportunities. So people
Yes.
don't leverage their customer base effectively as a lead generation machine.
Let me
And the
give you
ones
an
that learn how
example of
to,
that. I want to give you a really big example of that. So we're really talking about the power of relationships. I have an account right
Mm.
now that he went over his entire client base, and he said 84% of his client base is all based on relationships that he has and people that are buying over and over again. 84%.
yep.
Has got a
Mhm.
multi-dollar business. So what I'm here to tell you is that the greatest relationship can give you more success than any marketing campaign.
Yeah.
These are relationships that are over
No
time,
question.
that they understand who you are, and they really get to see not only what you can do for them in business, but how you support them just in life in general. So you don't just you're not just a business alliance, you are an alliance, period. And they look at you as a resource for them in various areas, and you become much more valuable. So you want to think about, how do you position yourself? Are you just a vendor to somebody, or are you really a resource? Very different. A vendor is one and done. A resource is really long term, and it can make the biggest difference.
That's
And
where
you
the
have to start
cultivation comes
nurturing.
in. That's
And the
where
last thing I want to
the
say on that is, I
cultivation
want
and
you to do
nurturing.
it. I want you to do it strategically. What are your power partners? And what the heck is a power partner? Now, a power partner is somebody that is already servicing your account from a different area. They've got your database, but they're doing something else for that. I'll give you an example. Years ago, I worked with a pest control company. Their biggest power partner were corporate cleaning companies, because cleaning companies came in to do the cleaning of the corporate buildings, but they didn't do pest control. So he brought in all, I mean, he literally, I can't even tell you the millions of dollars of business that he was able to give them, because he had the cleaning contract, he had the ear of the CEO, he had the trust of the CEO, and therefore he was able to pass on quite a bit of business. So you really want to think about, who are your power partners? How could you align with them? Do you have to give them, some sort of a gift, a commission, whatever? But you want to make it a win-win. If somebody's opening up their database for you, you've got to make it valuable for them as well. So
And
how do you
I'm going to expand upon that, because that's where, with a power partner, you can actually co-market in each other's customer base. And now
Yep.
you've got the other one endorsing you. So you've got your partner that's endorsing you into their customer base. You're endorsing that partner into your customer base. So now it's also a warm lead marketing aspect, because now you're saying, this is my friend Rochelle. And that's the verbiage that is utilized, is this is my friend Rochelle. She can help you with this particular area. And that completely collapses the whole sales cycle because now you've got credibility from a third party and that changes the dynamics.
And I
100%.
think
Why they're so valuable.
when we talk about relationships, I think there's another aspect to this, which I think gets missed. And we're building relationships not on purpose. We have to build those relationships with sincerity. And if you're just building the relationships cold and you're just, saying, I need to do this because I have to, because I need to generate these leads, and I'm not really into it, well, that's not going to get you anywhere.
No,
And so I think
no.
it's absolutely important that we're sincere about this and we take the time for it. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to build relationships with 100 companies and they're all going to be quality. No, pick 10 people. That's it. Show's over.
Be intentional. Be intentional about who
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
networking with. I call them COIs. You can call them whatever you like. Relationships, salespeople, whatever. But they are basically my outside sales force, and not because I've asked them to be, but I built
Mhm.
relationships with them. I've proven that I can show up on time. I do what I say I'm going to do. I'm honest. And I treat their clients amazing, and they're going to refer me again because I keep delivering every single time they refer me. I make them look good. And here's the biggest, most important part. I don't do it to get. I do it because I want to give and help them grow. I'll repost something I saw on LinkedIn that I thought was really cool they posted. Or I'll recommend them to someone I think could help them because they're top of mind. So I think it's really important
Yeah.
that you are thinking about the whole ecosystem of lead generation. It's not just making cold calls today, dialing for dollars. Okay, that's great. Where I'm sending out emails or, we're doing LinkedIn, but there's this whole other area of intentional relationship, human to human
Yeah.
network connecting that I think is really important.
Now that got lost from the pandemic, obviously, when we weren't able to all meet in person, go to conferences, local business networking events, whatever the case was. But we're past that now. And the idea is, find somebody in your local area for that matter, and go have breakfast, have lunch, meet for a happy hour or whatever the case might look like. And just set aside time. That's the issue. Set
But it's an
aside time
investment.
during the
You
week.
you you have to
It's
make an
yeah.
investment into that relationship because, when I was selling manufacturing technology back in the day, my best referrals came from my customers that introduced me to somebody else that was
Yeah.
another tool and die shop that could utilize the technology. And so they would make an introduction to me from that person. And I would, basically the whole sales process was take the phone call and says, hey, Jack says I need to buy this stuff. What's it cost me? How fast can you get it here? And most of my time was filling out the paperwork to get the order done because I had a third party that was
You were
saying
pre-sold,
it was
pre-sold.
it was
Freeze
pre-sold.
all.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It was
exactly.
pre-sold. And then the other aspect that was really cool is when I would go into a particular company that I prospected myself and went in to present, I would turn around and show my day timer at the time, went back in the old days, and it would list all the companies I would have. And I would say, here's my cell phone, except it was a brick back then. Here's my phone. Here's a list of my customers. Pick any one of them and call them, and they're all referenceable. And they would flip through and they'd say, oh, you're dealing with John over at this company. Yeah. Oh, you're dealing with Mike at that company. Oh, you're dealing with Steve over here. Okay. And they would never call, but I would get the order because of the fact of the relationships I had. And I had the confidence that they were all referenceable. And it was by association got me the opportunities.
The more
Yeah,
you
I
give,
mean,
the more you
yeah.
get. That's one of my famous lines. So the more people you can help, the more people are going to want to help you. It's just human nature that if someone helps me, I'm going to want to help. I feel onus. I want to help them.
But I think when we're talking about lead generation, I think the issue that we run into, and we see it quite often, is that a company is looking for the results yesterday, and that's number one, which is wrong, right? And the other part is that they don't some people, and maybe a majority of the people, aren't interested into this relationship building thing. They're looking for something quick and easy, which obviously doesn't work. And so when you start talking about cold lead generation, I can tell you that might be the least expensive, but it's also the least effective. And then when you start talking about warm lead generation, in other words, you're basing it on, or at least lukewarm, on people that have been identified that are coming to your website based on their company, for example. That's one direction, and that's a level better. It's not horrible, but you're still dealing with somebody that doesn't know you and you don't know them. And that lack, and it's your job to figure out how to generate that trust, and that takes time. Whereas if you were spending more time on the relationship building and building a network of quality people that they trust you, you trust them, and therefore they're able to refer somebody to you, believe me, that is the least costly option and the one that works the best.
How would you, okay, so here I am, I'm starting in business, I'm relatively new. How would I start building relationships?
I know.
Well,
I know. Teacher.
go,
Um,
go ahead.
honestly, from an AI perspective, because I'm going to answer your question with, and also add in something on AI that could help you. Be very intentional about who your ICP is, your ideal client profile, their demographic, their size. Specifically, be intentional about who you want to talk to, who you want to speak to, who you want to meet. And once you've got that figured out, there's tools you can use like humantic.ai that'll profile a person on LinkedIn, tell you everything about them, how they like to be sold to, what turns them on in a buying cycle, what turns them off. They want to be spoken to fast or slow. EVY AI is another one that's out there. There's different tools you can use to help you get the upper hand, to know more about that person and leverage resources like social media to understand more about that person. And I think you have a lot better shot if you're just starting off. Start intentionally. You don't got to hit 1,000,000,000 people. Hit 10. I mean, how many deals you got to get to make some money? So if you need, to hit 20 people to get one to buy.
Let's recap. Let's recap. So you're saying you want to get very clear on who your ideal client is. Once you get the ideal client, you go into what? Give me two of the
You
AIs.
go into LinkedIn and search for those people in those industries with those demographics. Regular LinkedIn has searching, or you can pay for the premium sales navigator. It just makes it a little easier.
Okay,
They both
but
have it.
that works great for professional services. I'm a pool guy. That doesn't work for me from a pool. I'm a pool cleaning guy. That doesn't work.
Right.
So,
Tell me the truth.
we've got to look at the reality of,
Good. I want to
yes,
hear.
for
Let's look
professional
at what you said.
services, hang on. From professional services, that's a great strategy. But if I'm a pool guy, I need to find someplace to create market awareness that I exist. So one of the ways I believe is you get yourself into, for example, those packages that you get mailed to you. That is an inexpensive way to get visibility, and you
Oh, the
start
ad
getting,
cards, whatever.
yeah, one of those value packs that come in, and you start getting some visibility, and you got to start establish some visibility, and then you got to also, for example, there's a neighborhood app that you can start marketing into that neighborhood for a given thing, and you can put an ad in there, and now you get one customer, and then that customer in that neighborhood turns around and says, "You've done some great work." You start getting some momentum in the neighborhood, for example, for a pool cleaning guy.
And always
Yeah,
ask for a referral. Ask your
and
client if they're happy. Say,
Right.
great. Who else?
Give me a
I can make happy.
testimonial. Give me social
Mhm.
proof first, then go from there. Because you want the social proof. Because that's the other thing that people will forget is getting social proof. Because now that's third parties that are validating for you.
Steve, go
Yeah,
back
and let's not
to
forget the basics. I mean, guys, let's not forget the local business networking events. And
Yeah.
I don't
The
mean just the
Chamber of
chambers,
Commerce, for
right?
God's
I,
sake.
I'm kind of referring
Steve. Here
back to
I'm
the
going to
pool
argue
guy
with you.
concept, right? The pool guy concept is what I'm referring to. That's where the local the local
Chamber,
events, the
yeah, local
chambers, the
chamber.
and networking events. Um, you got you got organizations like
BNI,
M3
Because
link, for
you
example,
got all
that
the
does, yeah, all these different things. I mean, if you're the roofing guy, you're the pool guy, you're the, grass cutting guy, whatever. This is all about local based relationship building. It's about business development. But these are the areas that you could focus on if that's what your business is about.
Yep.
But like you said earlier, Steve, if you're in professional services and you're building out, you don't have any geographic limitations, well, then, yeah, you know what? The AI tools are on the market, as well as your LinkedIn tools to be able to find those referral partners and build that relationship. Going back to Rochelle's example of, hey, I just started off, I don't know where to start, where do I start? So I guess part of it depends on what type of business you're in and what tools would you use to find these
That
referral
could be a
partners
whole.
and
That could
do.
be a whole one of our shows just on what
I
tools.
agree. I agree.
Sure.
No doubt about it. You guys want to kind of wrap this up? Let's talk about our takeaways from today, and then we'll continue lead generation in our upcoming shows.
Sure. I'll go real quick.
Go.
You know what? I got to remember that there's more out there than just the professional world I live in. And quite honestly, that was a good eye opener. So thank you for that, Freddie. Good idea, man. There's multiple places you got to do what's right for you, do what works for you, and you got to really definitely know your ICP, your ideal client profile. I think it's really important.
Yep. Rochelle?
I just think that you have to start. Pick like two people. Who are two
Mhm.
people that if you think about over the course of the year, if you became much more friendly with them, whatever you understood them more, that you can become a resource to them, not just a vendor, what would that do to your business? So I think I would suggest be more intentional, get clear on your ideal client, and just pick two. Who do you want to build a closer, longer term relationship with that it could be a win-win for both?
Yeah. Ready.
I think it's going to take a multi-prong approach. You've got to, especially if you're starting out, you got to build market awareness that you exist. Then once you've got your market awareness, you got to build those relationships at the same time. Those got to be running simultaneously. So I'm going to piggyback of what Rochelle said. I got to start building some market awareness so that people actually start seeing the name out there. But at the same time, I got to build that relationship so that I get some credibility, because that person can help edify my services and gives me validation that I'm a solid service that I'm providing for somebody. And then you take that strategy, and it has to evolve, because it changes as your business changes and you start getting some momentum going.
Melih.
And I'm going to go with, I think, something I mentioned earlier. I think the best lead generation is built through relationships, but built through relationships that are based on sincerity and are intentionally nurtured. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to wrap up today's show. Look for us next week when we come back again on lead generation. And we will wrap things up for today. Hit follow, hit subscribe, join the Loonies next week for more no fluff, no BS,
Say
and
bullshit.
just pure business madness.